Okay. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting, and the meeting is now called to order at 4:01. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. 1.2 is to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda with corrections about the student presenter?
I move to adopt the agenda as posted with the exclusion of 2.1 student presentations.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Gosh, now I'm doing it differently. Jerry?
Aye.
Brianna?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Oh, this is so exciting. And I also agree, motion carries.
Melissa, you were the one that seconded it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, I think back to, I had the routine, I would say Bianca, Brianna, Rosemary.
Yes. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have 3.1, consideration of approval of warrants and payroll for Northern United Humboldt. 3.2, consideration of approval of warrants and payroll for Northern United Siskiyou. 3.3, consideration of approval of minutes for the February 7th board meeting. 3.4, consideration of resignations, hires, leaves, and change of assignments. And 3.5, consideration of resignation letter from board member Amy Schneider. Are there any questions or comments about any of those? Hearing none, is there a motion?
A motion to accept the consent agenda as posted.
And a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Jerry?
Aye.
Brianna?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
And I also. Motion carries. 4.1, comments from the public that are not on the agenda. Comments by the public. Under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Please keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. The board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. Should comments from the public pertain to a charge or complaint against an employee of Northern United Humboldt Charter School or Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, the board encourages the speaker to utilize the school's written complaint procedure to pursue the matter. The public will have an opportunity to comment on all agenda items as they are heard. Do we have any public comments?
Willow Creek says none there.
Okay. Moving on to action items. 5.1, adopt second interim budget for NU Humboldt.
Okay, well, that's Kelly. Kelly will speak to the next couple of items. So I'll just throw out there, you guys know the second interim is the budget report. I'm just gonna let Kelly do it. I don't even know why I started.
This is our budget update based on actuals through January 31st, 2024. I did a PowerPoint.
Do you want me to open that up? Is that right? That's on yours, right? It's on this one.
Take notes.
Thank you.
Second interim presentation?
Yep, that's the one. It's big in presentation mode.
Take time.
Did you get those batch cover sheets signed? I'll grab them.
Not
Oh,
yet,
okay.
because I'm having techno issues
Oh,
over
no,
here.
you're having technology issues
Yes,
too?
I am.
You
Where
appear
are
to be
the
offline.
cups for
Yes.
water?
Have you been able to get on?
Not here. Mm-mm.
I'm not sure.
Okay, don't worry.
Sorry.
We're ready for that.
You did?
I did.
And it was online? Or it wasn't?
It wasn't,
You had never connected? Like you
apparently
didn't get
not.
the password?
No.
Oh, the password, let me check if I can see
Is
it.
that yellow
I have the
submarine?
password, I just,
Okay.
yeah, it's the yellow, and it's the
Do you
same
need
as.
to be online, Rosemary? Can't you just click on the file and it'll open in Acrobat?
Well, she can't open her email,
Oh,
because she's not
Okay.
online.
but wasn't it previously downloaded and you don't need
You can't
internet?
log on to this network?
No, she hasn't tried yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she just mentioned that she wasn't able to access her packet. So I was just gonna get her online.
Because I just opened my email and I'm not online.
See? Why is the networks
I was just having problems from it being a non-recognizable source,
Oh,
but
yeah.
Something.
I managed to move that around and it's now okay now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I remember it happening to me too, and once I was on it.
I know,
Stay
once,
forever.
once I pick the network, it should come on because it's the same password.
Uh-huh.
But I can't find where you get the networks.
Is that a map?
No. So like I was clicking on here, because
Mhm.
usually that's what
That's
comes
where
up
it
and you
is.
have all the networks.
Right there.
That's
I keep
what
getting
comes up, and I clicked on that. and
Uh-huh.
then it opens
Try
up
it.
other-
Oh, there it is.
And it won't let
See?
me go any further, but if I go
Okay, all right.
and go through this, it does.
Works with magic fingers. Guitar
Here we
fingers.
go.
I'm assuming that she would have the.
She had her
the
email.
certificate on here. If you can log on to this, do you use this at?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that must have been
That's
what
what
Tim
put the
did.
certificate on there.
Mhm.
Obviously, that's what.
What if I
Can't
circumvent
connect to
it?
this network. Why?
Do you have it?
Well, that's okay. We'll just carry on.
You know what, if you're interested, I have a packet that's,
Okay.
If you need to look, we'll just put it.
oh
on
yeah, you
there.
guys could share.
Yeah.
Or you could use my computer.
There it goes. Okay.
Did it connect this time?
It appears to be. Google's trying to load. Yep, connected. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Perfect, perfect. We'll bring this up while you're talking.
Okay, I need to be able to change slides.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to just talk about that slide the whole
No.
time?
That's pretty
Humble.
good. Bar graphs too.
Need a clicker.
It's so funny.
Oh, there was
usually when
bar
people
graphs,
Get together
but-
for Zoom meetings, they have to, we actually get together and we do
It
better.
looks like they did.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah, see, and then
percentage
I'm
stuff
getting
is
this
missing.
when I try to download stuff.
It was online.
Well, see, I was
But I
too
can then
impatient
open it
for
in
to wait
Google
for it to download, so I just clicked
Like-
on open in Google
That's
what I
Slides.
do tab by tab.
This is how, yeah, that's why it's like downloaded.
I was like, man, what happened to Because it's kind of nice to see the percentages.
Yeah.
Boy, this is gonna be an interesting board recording for some.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, very boring.
And,
At least none of us have to go back and look
Watch it, yeah.
But, you know, potential candidate for a vacancy, looking at this one, whoa, what's up with those people?
We're usually much more on it.
I was just saying to Melissa that usually when people have to do a Zoom meeting, there's uncomfortableness and tripping around, and we're the opposite. We get together, like, what's happening?
Yeah,
What do we do?
you know, it's so
Top
funny
left
you
of
say
you.
that, because that's exactly, like, when we started setting up, you know, and like, I was like, wait, I gotta
Right.
log into this Zoom, like, and that's what he said, it's like, now
There
it's
we
like you're
go.
totally
There we go.
discombobulated being in a different setting. Like, that's true.
It's better with the bar graph.
Yeah.
So this is just a chart that shows our enrollment, or our ADA, of course, enrollment's on the side, so it's not quite as clear. And then our ADA and our unduplicated people count. So in Humboldt, it has dropped a little bit, but between 22, 23, and 23, 24, there's not that drastic of a difference. And then I just projected flat for the multi-years based on current year data in order to put in our LCFM calculator. So here's our normal little snapshot from the LCFF calculator. Our 23-24 total funding is $4,256,014. And then our supplemental concentration, which is based off of our unduplicated count, which is our socioeconomically disadvantaged, homeless and foster youth, and our English learners, is 893,987. So it's just kind of nice to see a snapshot which breaks down the different parts of our LCFF funding. So here's a pie chart for 23-24, where you can kind of see, obviously our most significant expense is going to be our salaries for our certificated, classified, and then our employee benefits. And then I also did a chart for our revenues. Most of our revenue comes from the local control funding formula from the state, but there are also some other portions that are pretty significant in there. It's not much of a drastic change from first interim, but I thought it's just nice to see where it's going. So here's 24-25, where you can see our LCFF becomes a greater share of our total revenues. Certificated salaries, classified salaries, and employee benefits stays pretty similar. If you read the assumptions, you can kind of see the changes that I made in between the years. I pulled out like our community schools planning grant, because we aren't going to be having that next year. And then, of course, anything other of our one-time funds that were spent down in the current year. And 25-26, we have, again, 80% for our local control funding formula, and our greatest share is still our salaries and benefits. The next chart is probably the biggest, most important one. This is talking about our unrestricted ending balances, or our quote-unquote reserves as a charter school. So you can see that we're going to be spending down over the next couple of years. I also wanted to call out on the bottom, so in between Humboldt's budget creation and Siskiyyou's budget creation, we received some new data from Siskiyou County office that suggested that we project a 0% COLA for 2025 and 26. So I didn't have enough time to go in and actually change that in the budget, but I did make a projection where you could see if that really does happen, that'll lower our ending balance in 25-26 by $42,811, which leaves us with about $990,185 in resource 000. So that still leaves us with about a 15% reserve for Humboldt, which isn't too bad. We want to make sure that we're being as conservative as possible, just because at the state level, they've been talking about a lot of reductions, possibility of bringing back deferrals. So with 990,000, we should still be okay.
So Kelly, what did you build this budget with, what COLA?
1%.
1%.
Mhm.
And so then after she did the Humboldt budget, but before she did the Siskiyou one, is when they said do it at 0%.
Mhm.
So the Siskiyou ones was done at 0%.
Correct.
So that's why she put that there for the Humboldt.
Just so then that way we could compare them both at the same level together. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you for the great visuals.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Kelly?
It's not necessarily a financial thing, but you made comment with the drop in it's one of the earlier
In
slides.
enrollment.
Yeah, on the Humboldt side. And I would, what crossed my mind immediately is, can we assume or contribute that to the fact that in Humboldt, there's a lot more competition for
No,
charter
you'll see
schools?
Siskiyou slide looks almost identical. It's the same pattern. So for whatever reason during COVID, like if she goes back to that slide that is, or even goes to the next one for Siskiyou, for whatever reason during COVID, our numbers shot up. You might remember, like, look at,
Yeah,
see, that's
yeah, I
20.
remember that.
And so and Siskiyou's looks identical, basically. The COVID year, we got a lot of kids enrolled. And then after the other schools opened back up, a lot of them went back to their schools. And so that's how, it's funny because we were just talking about this earlier today. We were looking at another graph that showed our schools' enrollment from the year before COVID. And both schools, again, look almost identical. It's the same pattern. So like the year before COVID, it was like maybe right here.
No.
And then it went up and then went down less than it had been before COVID. And that was true for Humboldt and Siskiyou. And then ever since then, we've been just staying flat. And we were talking about how that's actually how all the schools in California did, not the big upshoot like we did. That was an anomaly for us, for our kinds of schools. But everybody else's enrollment since COVID is less than what it had been. You know, so many people either moved out of state or went into homeschooling, or for whatever reason, they got disillusioned with California and California's public schools. So that's just, we're going to see that blip of that increased enrollment for that COVID year, forever. But then after that, it's just kind of stable. And like I said, you'll see Siskiyou's graph looks almost identical.
You said that before.
Well, I could talk about it.
Thanks
There's
for
a
that.
little bit of a different reason perhaps for Siskiyou's drop.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So we're to move to adopt the second interim budget report with a positive, do you want us to say a positive certification?
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted, because I wrote that down. Okay, I move that we adopt the second interim budget for Northern United Humboldt Charter School with a positive certification.
Is there a second?
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Jerry?
Aye.
Brianna?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
And I also agree, motion carries. 5.2, adopt second interim budget and budget resolution for Northern United Siskiyou.
All right.
So we have another similar graph, or bar chart, I should say, where it goes over our enrollment ADA and unduplicated pupil count. As Sherry was saying, you can see in the COVID year it's a little bit higher, and then it drops a little, and then we're staying fairly consistent. There's just a small drop in between 22, 23, and 23, 24. And then I just maintained those same projections for the multi-year.
Yeah, we were like at 100. So we were a little bit down from there in the 1920 year. Then 2021 we moved up, and then right before the 21-22 year we lost Lindsay and weren't able to and then replace her. And then in October we also lost another teacher, so we had less capacity to take on students. That year we had like a waiting list 40 students long, and then after that we've just sort of held steady because the waiting list would go and haven't replaced staff.
So again, this is the same graph that goes over our LCFF funding. So our total for 23-24 is $1,670,244. Our biggest portion of that would obviously be the base grant, but then our supplemental and concentration funding at $356,442. So again, I did a pie chart for 23-24 to show, again, most of our revenue is coming in from LCFF, and then we have some from state, local, and federal sources. Our expenditures, our greatest expenditures are again our certificated salaries, classified salaries, and employee benefits. Our services and other operating is a little bit higher on the Siskiyou side, just because we have the MOU between Siskiyou and Humboldt, and that's a pretty big contract. And then we also have, which is new, the contract for our special ed resource teacher. Then 24-25, our total revenues again for LCFF is about 80%.
88.
Okay. And then our total expenditures, again, our biggest ones are certificated salaries, classified salaries, benefits, and then we still have a large service and other operating as well. And then same thing for 25-26. Our LCFF is again 88% of our funding. Our greatest expenses are certificated and classified salaries, employee benefits, and then services and other operating expenses. So this one was based on a 0% COLA, so that's why I did not add the additional note at the bottom, because that's already included in here. So our ending balances, we are spending down quite a bit, but at 25-26, we're ending with the 341,879, and again, that's about a 15% reserve for the charter school, which is, I think, a pretty good place to be with the economic outlook at the state level, just so we can make sure we have cash flow. And it's about 3 months worth of payroll and operating expenses like leases, utilities, and
Any questions or comments for her? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion?
I motion that we adopt the second interim budget and budget resolution for Northern United Charter Schools of Siskiyou County.
Right. You know, and I will,
I was positive.
as positive, and I will say, just to mention, you guys remember, and Brianna, you probably remember this, that Siskiyou County Office of Ed requires us to do that extra budget transfer resolution for them. They require board approval for them to move money within the account. So that's, but HCOE doesn't require that.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Jerry?
Aye.
Brianna?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
And I also agree. Motion carries. 5.3, approval of financial statements with independent auditor's report for fiscal year 2022-2023 for Northern United Charter Schools.
All right. So we got our audit, and it's in the packet, and there were 0 findings. And Kelly and I were shocked. Not because we expected there would be findings, but you guys remember, this was the first year with the new auditor. We've had the same auditor for the entire time we were with Northern United, but that was also the same auditor that we had the whole time we had Matole Valley Charter School too. So switching auditors and not knowing exactly what they were going to look at or look for or any of that, you know, we just expected that they would have different thoughts about how things should be done, because they actually do have a lot of leeway. Even though every year the state puts out what's called the audit guide, and that's kind of the rules of what the auditor is supposed to look at that year and kind of explain everything. There's a lot, it's open to interpretation. So like, for example, our previous auditor, you guys might remember, they considered it a finding. You would get a finding if your audit was late, even if they asked you to ask for an extension and the extension was approved. That was still a finding. This auditing firm does not believe that.
Oh.
And in fact, that happened this time, but they don't believe that's a finding. So there's a lot of leeway, so we weren't sure. And then this is also, you know, our previous firm was a really small, local to Humboldt County accounting firm, you know, kind of a mom and pop kind of shop. This is a huge, you know, big company in Southern California. They're in Southern California, right? They may have multiple offices too throughout the state. I'm not really sure. But they do a lot of state, audits of schools throughout the state. And our school and one other school in Humboldt and then our school in Siskiyou are the first ones that they're auditing in those counties. So, we just weren't sure what to expect. And it went on for a long time, and it was a very different process. They have this online portal that we have to upload all these documents to, and they asked really detailed questions. I know Kelly was glad when it was done because it was a lot of nitty-gritty, just really getting in the weeds. And then the biggest thing, I think the main reason why it did have to be extended, why it was late, was because, and they asked for us to get an extension, was because, in my opinion, it took them a lot longer than they had anticipated to untangle what had been done by the county office. And they had to basically go through all the previous years to figure out, because, this was an audit of last fiscal year. But to see things, they had to look even in years before, to kind of figure out like what happened. And you guys might remember me telling, I think this was last month, talking about how we discovered that we were not getting this property tax in lieu of property tax, this money that we are supposed to get from certain districts when we have students who are enrolled with us that live within the boundaries of those districts. Our previous auditor never mentioned it, but this auditor said, hey, I don't see your, in lieu of property. And we're like, yeah, we know it's not there, but we're working on getting it. But so we just expected that there would be something that came up, but they got nothing. So that made us feel very good and super pleased with the staff in the student records department, in personnel, in fiscal, like all the areas that they look at, because they went through with a fine-tooth comb. It actually makes me feel really good, not just that things looked so good, but the fact that now they've really untangled everything that was there. Like now Kelly's like starting, really like clean and fresh, knowing that what it says is in there is actually what's in there. Yeah. Yes, we have a lot of audit adjustments to make in Siskiyou. And what that is as the auditor is going through things and finding mistakes of certain codings, things that are supposed to be done a certain way within the actual budget, they tell us what to do to make all of those journal entries, making all of those budget adjustments to correct all of that so that it's all cleaned up exactly as it should be. So, yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to point out how, I won't say rare, maybe unusual. It's definitely not very common to get a audit with no findings whatsoever in any area, because it's not always just about dollars and cents, but missing a student here is misplacements. It's incredible to me that kudos to the staff and everybody involved in that, to have an audit report with no findings.
And then also,
awesome.
I'll remind you, this is the first time really to have the audit together. Remember how the
Right,
previous
it's
one always did the
always-
Humboldt and the
right.
Siskiyou, and now it was all like together.
And
So-
didn't they find that it should always be
Yes.
done together
Yes.
as opposed to, so it's like, wow.
Yeah, yeah. They're doing our
That's good
taxes right
news.
now. So you'll see those next month. Yeah,
Cool.
next month.
Do you have a comment or questions?
I guess I would just wanted to say that it's relieving to hear that they found none, but that they were so thorough.
Yes.
Because that was the thing I was thinking, like, okay, none, but how did they-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said we were so surprised that they didn't, not that we expected something, but they were so thorough, and it was such an unknown with a new firm, knowing, you know, what they were gonna say.
Especially because it's the first year that they have them all together
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Like you would expect that there'd be something
Yeah.
that we're doing.
Yeah.
Something,
Awesome.
because many times it's just, it's a simply minor thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
and they'll
and-
write you up.
And I will just throw in there, I don't know, maybe this isn't professional, but, you know, I told you there was one other school that they're doing in Humboldt County. They did have those. And he, you know, their charter director shared with me, not the auditor would not have shared that with me, obviously, but.
Charter director, that narrows it down to a couple people.
Well, there's however many charters in the county, so one of them, but anyway.
128 or whatever it
There we
is.
go.
Yeah.
But anyway, they did have a finding, and they never had before, or he said it's been, they've had a clean audit for 11 years, and this time they had a finding.
That even reinforces how
Thorough,
incredible
I
and
know,
thorough that,
I know,
that it's, that's,
yeah.
they didn't just miss something.
Right.
They're doing
Well,
that,
I
yeah.
have a comment and a question. The comment that I have is I did have a phone interview with the
Oh,
auditor.
that's right.
Uh-huh, and she was really impressed with the records, the staff, everything to that point. She was very, very impressed. And my question is, because they had to go back and undo the web that was
Did they charge
created-
more?
Yes. Okay.
Yes, they did.
By a
Because
lot?
it took them a lot more time, do you remember?
Oh, of course it will.
I don't remember.
I'm gonna say less than 10,000.
Yeah, I was gonna
but
say
think it's
4.
over 5.
Okay,
Somewhere between.
yeah.
Just to undo it, or that they
For the
increased?
additional time
Time
that
and
they
all that.
took, right,
Yeah.
it's more manpower,
Exactly.
labor hours than they
So would this
expected.
be basically a one-time charge?
That's what I would assume.
That's
Yeah,
done.
okay.
That's
So
what I would
then,
assume.
when they give us a quote next year, it should be pretty close to
I
the
hope,
original
that's a good
quote.
point. And was the quote that they gave us, remember how we've gone back and forth, like, are we in contract with them for 3
They did
years?
say that we were in contract with them because I verified.
Okay, so it's
that.
the same amount.
I believe so.
Yeah.
25,000.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is split between the
split between the two
two.
schools, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think we were already locked in, but if not, we will definitely make sure to point that out.
Yeah,
That's a good point. But I do want to say, Rosemary, I had forgotten that they interviewed you. The previous auditors never did that.
Well, maybe the previous auditors talked with Jerry, no?
And, am I mistaken? They talked to a staff member too.
Yes.
They talked to a
Uh-huh.
staff. Our previous auditors never did that.
No,
Are you guys real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like they did their work mysteriously.
Well, good
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Hearing no more comments or questions, is there a motion?
I move to approve the financial statements with the independent auditor report for fiscal year 2022-23 for Northern United Charter Schools.
And a second?
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Jerry?
Aye.
Brianna?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
And I also agree, motion carries. Moving on to 5.4, approval of 2024-25 calendar for NU Humboldt.
Okay. So, this year, we gathered as many calendars as we could first. So we got the calendar Siskiyou County Office of Ed gave out. We got the calendar Humboldt County Office of Ed gave out. We got several different school districts' calendars. And then we created 2 options based on all the calendars we received. And you know, no 2 are the same, which is always the case pretty much. But this year, luckily, where Christmas falls, where the Christmas holiday falls, it makes it so everybody's winter break, regardless of the calendar, aligns, just because of where in the week it falls. So that was nice. The only option really was where your spring break went. So some people have the philosophy, some schools like to have it fall exactly halfway between like President's Week and the end of the school year. Siskiyou County, not so much, because mostly in Siskiyou County, they don't take President's Week. And so, but in Humboldt, a lot of people do that. Some put it before Easter, before Easter Sunday, some put it after Easter Sunday. So there was variations in spring break. So basically, we gave two choices and we did a survey to staff. I sent it out to all staff to vote, and we went with the majority rule, and that's what's in your packet.
Any questions or comments about the calendar for Sherry?
Such a big task every year.
It is.
It's so
It really
simple.
is.
Well, I have to tell you, when we get it wrong for what, according to staff, we hear about it. Even though last year we did the exact same thing, we sent out a survey with majority ruled, and still people did not like. I'm like,
Last
did you
year
vote?
was people in Humboldt grumbling.
About
This
the winter
year,
break.
I think the Humboldt people
Are
won
happy.
the vote,
They
so they're
did.
gonna be happy.
Yeah.
So they should probably just-
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
if spring breaks don't line up and you work here, but your kids are in a
Right.
different district
Yeah.
or
That's-
whatever, it's
that's
annoying.
a
But
nightmare.
we can't have more than one calendar.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Is there a motion?
I motion that we approve the 2024-2025 calendar for Northern United Humboldt Charter School and Siskiyou.
No, just Humboldt.
second,
Just
okay.
Siskiyou next.
Okay.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Jerry,
Aye.
Brianna?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
And I also agree, motion carries. Moving on to 5.5, approval of 2024-25 calendar for NU Siskiyou.
Same.
Any questions about Siskiyou's? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move to approve the 24-25 calendar for Northern United Siskiyou Charter.
And a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Jerry,
Aye.
Brianna,
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
And I also agree, motion carries. Moving on to 6.1, discussion items, eligibility for additional targeted support and improvement for NU Humboldt.
Okay, this is a weird one. You guys might remember that we had the same situation last year. And this is only for Humboldt, not for Siskiyou, but Northern United Humboldt has been identified by California Department as Ed as qualifying for ATSI, which is Additional Targeted Support and Improvement. And this is always so complicated for me to explain, but there's a couple ways that you can qualify for this ATSI. And basically it is based on how well your individual student groups, so let's say students with disabilities, students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. So, all these different groups, all the different ethnicities are also a different student group. So basically, it looks at all of your student groups. Let me rephrase that. It looks at all your student groups in which you have reportable data. So if you have 10 or less kids in a group, let's say in our whole school, maybe we only have 10 students who are Asian. If we have less than 10 students, that's not considered a student group. It's not statistically significant. It's not large enough to report. So a student group has to be more than 10 kids to be able to qualify for this. So if you have a student group that is performing poorly based on the California School Dashboard, then you can qualify for this. And what that means is that performing poorly, what that means is, so all of the different categories on the California School Dashboard. So there's English language arts, there's math, there's chronic absenteeism, there's graduation rate, suspension rate, there's like a few different metrics. And for each of those metrics, if a student group, if all of them, they're in the red, which is the lowest performing category, then you qualify for ATSI. Another way to qualify for ATSI is if a student group, in all of the metrics that they appear in, if they're in red in everything but one, then you qualify. So either, you know, you have one that's not red and all the rest are red, or all red puts you in ATSI. So we have a student group that is students of 2 or more races that only has enough kids in the group to qualify for 2 of those metrics. One is chronic absenteeism and one is suspension rate. Suspension rate, they're in the highest category you can be in, but chronic absenteeism, they're in the lowest category, they're in the red. So that qualifies as one being not the red and all the rest being the red, even though it's just 2, you know what I mean? So that's the same, we got into ATSI in Humboldt last year for that reason, and then this year as well, the exact same situation. It's a student group who only has 2 metrics. One is the best you could be and one is the worst, but that makes it so. So we have other student groups that are in, like in Siskiyou, for example, we have student groups that are red in multiple groups, but at least 2 of the ones they're in are not red. You know, like maybe one's orange or one's yellow or something. So that's why they didn't qualify for ATSI, but Humboldt did, just because of the numbers in the student groups. So that was a big old long explanation of what ATSI is about. There's no money associated with it, like the state doesn't give you any money to help support you in helping this situation, you know, helping us to support students of 2 or more races not be chronically absent. But what we do have to do, there's a couple things we have to do. One is we have to have an action in our LCAP that speaks to what we're going to try, do to try to address this. And then the other thing we have to do, and this is just another really weird situation for us, the district, LEA, is required to notify the school that the school is an ATSI. So we don't have a district because we're a charter school. There's only a school. So it's like we're telling ourselves to meet this requirement, we have to tell ourselves that we're in ATSI. Because normally it's based on a school. So say you have a district that has multiple schools. One school might qualify for ATSI, another might not. So it's the district's job to notify whichever schools qualify for. Well, we have no district and we're just a single school. And so we're telling ourselves. And so this letter in the board meeting acts as proof that we have met that requirement where we have told ourselves that we're in ATSI.
Go figure.
Yay, CDE. Yay, legislation.
Well, great job, that was really understandable.
Okay, good. Because it feels like it's really getting down into the weeds of this nitty gritty stuff that it's kind of hard to explain, but anyway, so that's the situation. But on a serious note, I mean, this now has been an issue 2 years in a row, and I feel pretty strongly that it's probably gonna happen again because we have so few students in that subgroup, and those students happen to be ones that are chronically absent. And for whatever reason, I'm talking about the specific kids that this is happening with, and we have done all kinds of outreach. We have our counselors contact the families, our community school coordinator contacts the families. We do what we call missed assignment meetings to try to figure out what the barriers are. And remember, for us, chronically absent or just being absent means not doing their work, not completing their work. And to me, it seems like for both schools, our chronic absentee rate is high. And for both schools, for the most part, it happens to be just a very small number of kids that are in crisis, as opposed to a lot of kids missing random days that add up to the time. You know what I mean? It's like when you are dealing with such small numbers. So for students of 2 or more races, I think we have 11 students. So if you have, 2 of those, 3 of those who are missing 10 days or more of the school year, which is 2 days a month, well, now that is now putting them in the red because that's a high percentage. And so, I'm not really sure, we keep on trying different things and we will continue to try things, but that is just one of those things that I think it's like we're in this sweet spot of having over 10 to get us into a student group, but then not enough for some of the other metrics. Like I said, that we only have enough to report in chronic absentee and suspension. Because see, for like English language arts and math, not every student takes the CAS test. You have to be at a certain grade level. So some of our students of 2 or more races are not in those grade levels. So there's not enough to make a student group in those categories. And then for graduation rate, that's only the seniors. And so there's not more than 10 students of, so there's not enough to make, so they only are gonna ever fit in 2 categories. So we're probably gonna keep, and like I said, the suspension rate one, they're in the highest category. So anyway, until we can address that, them not completing their work, the specific, students not completing their work, I think we're gonna keep falling into this, or unless we get more students that are 2 or more races and it bumps us up so that we have enough to be a subgroup in some of those other metrics.
Or until they're done with school.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. But anyway, so that's what that's about. You guys don't need to do anything. It's not an action item or anything. It is just making sure that at some point, if anybody asks, we can go back and point exactly where we told ourselves we're in this program.
Thank you. Moving on to reports. 7.1 is enrollment and attendance report. 7.2 is the financial report for NU Humboldt and NU Siskiyou, both of which were in our packets. Do we have any questions?
Siskiyou's wasn't.
The financial report?
Oh, the financial report was, I'm sorry, he's jumping ahead.
Yeah.
I'm jumping ahead because Kirk is ready for his.
Right. Because you're right, 7.5
Yeah,
is
sorry.
not in the packet.
Okay. Then we will move on to 7.3, the director's report.
Oh, that's neat.
That's you.
Okay, let me open it. Okay. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this last month or not, but next Wednesday, the 13th, I will be giving a report to HCOE's board. Just every year they ask for kind of an update. So that's next Wednesday. And then they will be doing their authorizer site visit in April. Siskiyou County, we've already reported to them, that was in December. They have a student in December every year, and they already did their site visit for the year. So these are the Humboldt ones. I'm going to skip one and come back to it because I think it's going to require some discussion. So I'm not sure if I have even mentioned this new program that's coming up yet that we are applying for. It's called the Children and Youth Behavioral Health Initiative, or CYBHI. So that's going to be something you're going to be hearing about because it's something that's a new initiative that's part of the California Master Plan for Kids' Mental Health. And as part of it, this master plan, what the state has decided to do is allow schools, so you guys might already know this, schools already could, and we do, bill for specific services that we are doing with students who qualify for Medi-Cal. So like if our school psychologist or a speech therapist or a counselor is working with a student who has an IEP and qualifies for Medi-Cal, we get to actually bill Medi-Cal for that. We get reimbursed from Medi-Cal for that. And that's something we've done the whole time, Northern United has existed. Well,
Sherry, can I interrupt you real fast?
Please.
Can you tell us what the IEP stands for?
Individualized Educational Plan. So those are students who qualify, who are special ed, who qualify for special ed services.
That's what that
So the billing
acronym
is
for.
the billing hours.
We are. So our providers, like our school psychologist or whoever is working with those students, they keep track of their time. They have to log in and do service logs. And then the Medi-Cal sends us a check for that, and it goes back into our special ed program. So that's something we've always done. That's called LEA Medi-Cal billing. Well, the state now is starting this new program specifically for mental health for students. So that was kids with IEPs. This is any student now we're going to be able to bill for. And it's starting, all schools are going to be able to participate in this next year. but you can choose to pilot it in advance if you want. So we're applying to be part of that pilot. And what that will be is anybody with a PPS credential, so any school counselor, any school psych, or someone who has training and gets qualified to be called a wellness coach, can do mental health services with students, whether they have an IEP or not. And we're going to be able to bill not just Medi-Cal, but their private insurance now as well. So this is going to be this whole big shift now where schools are going to be asking, of course, we're going to have to ask parents about their insurance, which we actually already do. You guys might remember every year you fill out like you fill out this liability form for field trips and stuff, and it asks for your medical insurance stuff. And that's obviously been so that, like, if your kid was with us on a field trip and they got hurt, we had to take them to the hospital, we'd have their insurance. Exactly. So now, so we've already been collecting that insurance information, though we do not we're not putting people's insurance information into our school database or anything at this point. But if we start this, that is something that we would be doing, and then we will have to get permission from people to bill their private insurance, right? We don't have to get permission to bill Medi-Cal because that's a state, they allow us to do that. The state Medi-Cal system allows us to do that. But private insurance, that would be something different, right? Because some people might have deductibles, or I'm not sure how that all is going to work out. But anyway, so we're applying right now to apply for this, but like I said, as a pilot, but starting next year, it's going to be open to anybody.
Well, we're unable to bill the families, right? We're not billing the families.
No, it's their insurance.
So then I imagine that it's basically similar to a super bill, where it's like, this is how much it cost, and whatever your insurance will pay for.
100%. That's what we actually, do you know what it is? The state, as part of this, has already negotiated with the insurance companies within the state for a rate.
Oh, that's
so that amount is already set, like the billable rate, and what will be reimbursed. I know.
Can I ask a question about that? So that sounds like it's mental health services, like a therapist or counselor, like you're saying. And is that all connected to school, or is that just for students, like for their mental health? Just like if we were to, for instance, I use my insurance to find a counselor outside of the school. And so that's very much one-on-one type of support for the students.
It can be both one-on-one support for individual students, and we can also bill for groups. Sometimes you'll do like friendship groups and, like social skills building kind of groups. We'll be able to bill for that too.
Resolution.
Exactly.
Cool.
I know, it's really interesting. To be able to qualify to do this, you have to already be doing Medi-Cal billing like we are. So that's, like I said, that's why we're applying for the pilot. And then the other piece that's really interesting, like I said, the people who can bill, the service providers, school psychologists, school counselors, school social workers, but also this other category that they're calling wellness coaches. And that is somebody who they don't have to have formal training in mental health therapy or anything like that.
It'd be like music therapy.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they could become a wellness coach, but it is going through a specific, they do have to get training by us. And then they have to be supervised by one of our people who are already credentialed. So it's almost like they're interns working under. And so we also have applied for a grant for the training for some of our staff to become wellness coaches. So you guys know, on a school campus, we already have so many people on staff who are doing this, right? Who are doing one-on-one counseling with students. And I use the word counseling very broadly, but you know what I mean. And so we already know, absolutely. So we already know specific people that want to, that would be very eager to do this, and we're gonna be able to bill for it.
And have a better program set for
exactly
outline.
Exactly. And so this was one of the things. So you guys remember we applied for the community school implementation grant. Part of that grant application asked, how we were going to be sustaining the community school when the grant ran out. This was one of the ways we said, is doing this, because we knew this was coming. And so, and that is the intent for this Medi-Cal billing, all of that to be braided together to use those funds to be able to do the kinds of things that we're doing with the community schools.
Is this going to be available for both schools?
Yeah, that's what we're applying. It's an application for both schools, so just like our Medi-Cal billing is, because they consider
I
us.
just wasn't aware that this school had ever done any
Yeah,
Medi-Cal billing.
Yeah, Mitch puts in for it all the time.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great.
So they consider us one entity, and we have, for that, we have an NPI number. So Northern United Charter Schools has the NPI number, and that's what allows us to do that. So, yeah. So that was just something I just wanted to give you a heads up on, because you're probably going to start hearing this acronym, CYBHI.
How long will it take for that to roll out till we're actually like?
You know, it's funny you say that, because I told you we're applying to pilot it now. This is cohort 2 of piloting. Some schools already were in pilot 1, cohort 1. And from my understanding, they haven't gotten any reimbursement back. Like they're still figuring it out, which is why they want pilots.
It might be faster for us.
It might be. And it's funny because we have a vendor that is our third-party billing vendor. When you do this Medi-Cal billing, it's if you have to pay another entity to have, they have the software system that you put all of your information in and everything. And I was telling him that we were applying. He's like, do you really want to? Because they're like cleaning up all the bugs right now. It might be more hassle, Well, my person who's applying, which is Althea, really wants to apply.
Okay.
She's already written the application and she's been working on it. So I think she wants to go forward with it. But anyway, and she's the one that wrote the grant for the wellness coaches too.
And that was going to be my question. It sounds like it's going to be a big job, the billing and whatnot, and is somebody going to?
Yeah, the Medi-Cal billing and stuff. So, the service providers themselves put in their service logs and everything. And then there's a part of it, now I can't remember if it's once a year or twice a year. Once a year, Kelly has to do a piece. There's a fiscal part of it. It's called the CRCS. And then there's a piece of that I do. And then another time of the year, there's a part that I do as well. And it's basically just giving them filling out some paperwork. It's not that's not super time consuming. And then Tim, actually our technology person, there's a piece too that he does, which involves uploading all of our students into their system. And he does it just because he's better at the technology piece of pulling the data in the way they need it. But I don't anticipate really a whole lot more work. To me, what is going to be more difficult in terms of the workload is getting people who haven't been used to being service providers trained in keeping their hours and uploading it. That's going to be the thing. So people who now have been doing it without doing any billing, if they become wellness coaches, they're going to have to log in and do this. And so really the burden is going to be on them. We're not really going to have much more burden.
With the wellness coaches and the way that it sounds like the state isn't going to have any oversight on how that training is done and how that certification is done, and each school will make their own decision on how that's being done?
No, they are making requirements for what the training is, and then, but the training will be done. I don't think it's going to be done by the state, but it will be done by some entity.
Okay, so it's not just us creating
We don't create the
program.
training.
Okay.
We provide the oversight for the people, like our people on staff who are already counselors or already school psychs will be the oversight for the intern
Okay, but
wellness
then
coaches.
who gets the certification as a wellness coach is going to be done.
Right.
So we don't have to develop our own
We don't
training
develop our own
program
training.
or
Nope.
anything like
Nope.
that. Okay.
And that oversight of the people that are, already qualified to do it, they have to meet with the intern wellness coaches for an hour each month. For the length of their internship, like that's the requirement for them. But the trainings, some other entity will do, and that's part of what that grant was written for, is to pay for that
It's great we don't have to hire new staff.
No,
or-
no, and it's people that students already have relationships with and have developed trust with and that kind of thing, so.
And
So,
what happens if I don't want to give you my personal insurance?
Then we can't
Will
bill.
my child not be able to participate?
They would have the same services as anybody, just like they already are now
Okay.
without any billing.
Because some parents are, I don't want to use the word paranoid, but I will.
Absolutely.
About giving
Insurance is scary.
giving
Sure.
too much
Absolutely.
information to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, well, and then keep this kind of thing in mind too, like as today, Althea and I were working through the application on this, and there are a lot of questions, rightfully so, about like HIPAA and FERPA, because
Uh-huh.
we then, when you start dealing, already schools are covered, we have to follow FERPA. But HIPAA is what like a medical entity would have to follow. But if we get involved, as we get involved in medical billing, then we become a medical entity. And so then there's a lot of like, requirements around how you're keeping those records and all of that, So it's a lot.
If like 20, just under 20% of our students don't qualify for free or reduced lunch, I would imagine that about 80% of our students
Get Medi-Cal.
Get Medi-Cal,
Yeah.
and it's not even. an
Yeah, it's
issue
not, yeah,
because-
right. Yeah, it's not a huge amount of our students that have private insurance, but every bit helps. Okay, so that was that. I still have a bunch more, but I won't do them all. I'll just tell you one other thing. I still sit on the board for our North Coast Schools Medical Insurance Group, which is the JPA that does our medical, vision, dental benefits. And so yesterday was the board meeting where we did the rate settings for the next year. And
How much are they doing
well, of course they're going up, but luckily not too much. It was a good year, knock on wood, it was a really good year. And so, there were some years where the medical portion was really in arrears and had to borrow from dental, to be able to, balance their budget. But anyway, that is not the case now. So dental didn't go up any, no increase to dental. Vision was 2.13, something like that increase, and medical was 3%. So not too bad, not too bad. That, I think they said that amounts to about $1 per person.
Well, you should say it that way.
Yeah, I know, it sounds a lot better.
Okay.
Maybe not per person, but maybe per plan. Anyway. So that was just one thing. I just wanted to let you know that has been set now. And then we are on the lookout for a new internal local formative assessment. So we have been using Renaissance Learning for a few years. You guys remember that's the assessment we do, like a baseline, and then we do it again mid-year and then again in the spring. And we've used it for quite a few years. This is our last year on the contract. And we have been feeling like it wasn't really super well aligned with the CASP test. And so we've been looking at other assessments to switch to that are more in line with the CASP test. And so we've had a couple presentations already from a couple different vendors, ones that, we hear good things about, because I think we're probably going to make that switch since this is the last year on our Renaissance contract. Anyway, and then here's the last thing that I'll do. Oh wait, no, there's two more things. Sorry. FFA field trip. Okay, so you guys know Kathy Shermer started an FFA chapter in Humboldt, and unbeknownst to her until last week, she didn't know that every chapter was required to go to the state convention. She thought it was optional, and they had decided not to go this year because of the cost of fundraising. They've just got established. And so they thought that they would raise money this year and part of next year to be able to go next year. Well, last year, her supervisor or whatever of FFA told her, no, it's required to go every year. So.
And that's in Fresno?
I think it's Sacramento, but I can tell you for sure, because I actually have it in my bag, but, so, you know, they're fundraising, they've already got a couple bake sales, in fact, they've already raised more than half the money. I mean, they just went out and hustled.
Wow.
But here's the deal, you guys, it's before our next board meeting, and she didn't get the field trip permission slip in time for our posting. She asked, was it yesterday? For us to put it on the agenda, and I said, I can't alter it now, it's too soon. So I'm gonna ask if we can maybe do a special board meeting. And so I'm thinking next week, because it has to be before, you know, she goes. And I can give you those dates. I don't know if we can figure out the date tomorrow if you want. We don't have to do it right now, but I just wanted to ask if you guys were okay with a special board meeting. And we would only need a quorum, so we would just need, you know, 3 to come if somebody couldn't come on whatever day and time that we pick.
Because I'll be gone next week.
Okay, there we go.
Hopefully everybody else.
Okay, okay.
I'm good as long as it's maybe on Wednesday or Thursday.
okay.
Those are
I mean,
my
we can
days
pick
off, so-
whatever day is, these guys are usually pretty flexible, so we could probably work around your
Yeah,
schedule.
we talked about
Pretty
that.
short.
And it's gonna be very short,
Very
right?
short.
Like
Of course.
one item.
One
I
item.
can do it Wednesday or Thursday anytime, or any of the other days after 5:15.
Do you guys want to pick that now, or do you want to wait?
My big calendar's on my fridge, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm not sure.
We can wait, we can wait. I can even
Maybe
send you
different from
I can
ours.
even send an
That's
email.
exactly right.
Maybe we should just set it because you have to leave early tomorrow.
Okay, let's set it. And let me get, the thing from Kathy Shermer so I know the exact date.
It's March 21st to 24th in Sacramento.
Thank you.
Do they have any plans or hopes to attending any of the national convention?
I don't know. They'd have to do some serious
Yeah.
fundraising for
Because that's
that.
in DC.
Yeah, is it in DTC? Oh, it used to be in Indianapolis.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, you're right, because not in Indianapolis.
Well, I tell you, Wednesday is way better for me than Thursday next week. Thursday, I'm like booked from 9 to 6:30. So, but Wednesday, the only thing I have on I have something at 10 and then that HCOE board presentation at 3. So
It's too bad we can't Zoom
Zoom,
it.
oh, you mean from your houses?
Yeah, is it no longer an option to do that
No.
resolution?
No, yeah, that's-
Not being posted.
That evaporated, that's what
Yeah.
I said, it's too bad.
Well, are you, so you don't have to be in town on Wednesday for any reason?
No, I make it happen Wednesday.
Okay, so is there a
We
time
could all
that's
go to your
better?
house. Just put it
Could
on
we
the
do
calendar.
9 on Wednesday?
That's fine with me.
Is
It
that-
seems
yeah,
like you're the
you
one that
maybe
has to
don't wanna
travel the
drive
furthest,
to-
so
yeah.
let's leave it up to you. It takes me
Right
3
now, I
minutes to
don't
get there
have-
on bike.
Or 11?
I don't have anything other than the Warriors play the Mavericks.
What time is that?
5:30.
5:30, okay, we will have it done by then. So 11?
Can we tentatively put both times down? And when Jerry and I can look at our big calendars?
Perfect. Let's just plan on Wednesday morning at
Wednesday
some
morning,
point, and we'll
yes.
confirm on like Monday or
And
something.
you guys just confirm and
Well,
then
okay,
just tell
wait,
me.
wait, you guys, I'd have to have the agenda if it's Wednesday, and you have to have it 72 hours in advance.
Tomorrow.
Well, the
Well-
weekend counts.
The weekend counts.
Yeah, so maybe tomorrow night you guys could email me and I
Okay.
can get the time.
Yeah,
Sure, when you get home. you can
Uh-huh,
look at your
Is
exactly.
this
calendar.
something that all the learning centers would also have to,
Always, yeah.
Well, they,
I mean, they'll,
I would
as
say
to
they
the
would
best
just
of their
have to
ability,
accommodate
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They would just have to accommodate it, and,
Yeah.
all we're gonna do,
yeah, I can just turn
make
it
sure
on.
that our kids, nothing going on for
I,
15 minutes
Yeah.
or something.
let's see, you know, knowing, okay, wait a second, what's 72 hours before? So, yeah, so if it was Wednesday, that's Sunday, right?
yeah, I
so
don't think you
Sunday.
count Wednesday as a day.
So Sunday at
Tuesday,
9 for
Monday,
Wednesday
Sunday,
at
yeah.
9.
Yeah.
Sunday by
Okay.
9, by like 9 AM.
Right, okay. Okay,
So by Saturday night.
yeah, if I can get
Yeah.
it posted by Saturday night, we're good. Okay, because, you know, tomorrow is gonna be hard for me to get anything posted, to like even create an agenda,
Right.
but I can do it on Saturday. Okay. Okay, So let's just tentatively say Wednesday morning we'll do it, but we don't know the
Okay.
time for sure yet. Okay, and then this is my last thing, I promise. I just wanted to mention, and we don't have to talk about it now, but I'm just gonna throw it out there, that this was the last year of my employment contract. And
I'm
so.
well aware of that.
So I just was gonna say, in the past, I feel like that's something that has taken a couple months sometimes, because like we have closed sessions, so you guys can all talk, and then time to come back to me, and like negotiating time, and then, so knowing that next month is April, so April, May, and June, not a ton of time. So I wanted to throw that out there, that like, what do you guys think about me on next month putting a closed session on there for you guys to talk about it? Does that sound good? Okay.
And at that time, are you going to have proposals?
Do you want me to
For us to
have
look
you want me to
at?
do a proposal for you?
Sure, I think as much info that we have.
Okay,
While we're in
so-
closed session.
So maybe what we'll do is we'll do a closed session. I'll start in there with you and give you my proposal and talk about it, and then I'll leave. You guys can talk, and then whenever you're ready, come get me. We'll do that kind of thing.
I think so.
Okay, and it's, April is also the initiation of our director's evaluation. So that could just be a topic that's put on there too, just to
Get it all.
signify to initiate it,
I think we
because it is a,
did that
it's
the
a personnel
first
thing.
time.
So it's just, this,
That worked.
how these things work. We've been lucky in that we agreed to a long-term contract.
Right.
for
Yeah,
sure.
I know, it's been 3 years
Yeah,
now.
and we haven't had to revisit
Having to talk
that.
about, yeah, I
So the
know.
only other thing was your evaluation, which means your part in that evaluation. And
My self-evaluation.
yes, so that's what
Yeah.
would go on, and then we all agree to the evaluation instrument, and goes from there.
Okay, we'll do that then.
Okay,
Alrighty, and that's it for me.
are you
Thank you.
sure?
Yeah.
Because we've got
I have
time.
more, I have more things on my
I
list,
know,
but that's all
you
right. Nobody, everybody out there is saying, shut up, Sherry.
Oh, are
Well,
you
no,
getting
we've got
little words?
questions. Of course, we can do it in board report, but questions for the director.
That's true. Yeah, do you guys have any questions on any of that?
We'll wait till next month at the closed session.
Okay, moving on to 7.4, which is Northern United Humboldt's report that has been on our packet. Rebecca, are you still with
You want
us?
to put the screen back?
Oh, yeah.
Has it been recording that?
Yeah, I'm here.
No,
Oh, there you are, okay.
no, it's recording on my
Do
computer.
you have anything to add to your report? Or do you-
I
Pardon?
don't. No, I don't.
This meeting is being recorded.
Oops.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Rebecca?
Other than it kind of dovetails with a very long drive here with a fellow board member, how far we've come. But it's like, wow, we got basketball teams. And that's wonderful. That's just, and then of course, he went on to say, wow, and an FFA chapter, and just all the different things that our school and groups of students are, they're putting themselves out there. That's really wonderful, which brings me to something that I'll wait until the board report to bring up or ask about. But, as always, it's just wonderful to see these bake sale at Arts Alive, just all engaging with our local community. So It's heartwarming.
It is, and you know, Jerry, I appreciate that you bring that up. You look at like the span of our existence, and you like, I appreciate how you celebrate all of the like little successes along the way and see how they just build and build and build. And there are a lot of neat things, and we have done a lot of really cool things and have really built, you know, building a more rich program all the time. And I also thank you, Rebecca, for doing such a good job at putting this report together every month. And you too, Kirk, which we'll look at yours too. But I mean, I know that everybody out there is doing all this stuff and getting it to you guys, but you're the ones that are like beating the drum to get it, to be able to report it to the board. So thank you for doing that. Any comments or questions for Rebecca? Well, I think this was your longest report and loved it. And as I've said before, thank you, Kirk, for leading the way with color pictures, because it just really captures what the students are doing.
Yeah, I had to insist to the person
Yes,
who
you
was
did.
putting together the packets to make them color and not black and white. So I was always giving them.
Oh.
So, yeah, they would
It's
just
true.
reproduce them
Yeah.
in black and white.
And
You're
every
right.
now and then when
I
I'm
remember
scanning
the
the packet, I
very first
forget
ones.
that I didn't hit full color and I have to
Uh-huh.
redo it.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Thank you again, Rebecca. We're going to move on to 7.5, which is Northern United Siskiyou's report that was not in our packet. Kirk is going to
Do it live.
do it live.
Woo.
Got a little video,
No,
with
I
sound,
wish. Maybe next,
music.
sometime I'll have a video for you. So we've got, so in Wairika, 6 of our staff members, Wairika Learning Center, finished a 4-course training on restorative justice in 2 full days last fall, and then 2 full days a couple weeks ago. That's really cool. I did that a few summers back. It's really good. We're applying for we applied for a strong workforce CTE pathway grant to support the creation of a building trades pathway. Eric Claus, who does our manufacturing pathway, which is really cool. It kind of teaches students how to use this particular software, that when they've taken a couple classes here, then they'll be able to go to COS and take a class, and then that'll feed right into NorCal products or whatever is right across the street from COS, and they can make like really, really
That's
good
the
money.
manufacturing path.
That's the manufacturing.
Yeah, that one we already
So,
have. Yeah.
so Eric is already doing that, so now he's gonna also create a building trades pathway to try to prepare, kids to work for a contractor, do construction. So that grant is to support buying materials and supplies for that. And also a stipend for creating the official pathway for that. Then this is from Kate. She teaches our CTE Sustainable Agriculture class, and they had a field trip to Raley's. I didn't change the spot. Anyway, they have a field trip to Raley's. They went to the produce department and saw all about how produce is brought into Raley's, what they do with it, how they present it, just everything. They learned about global food distribution, local distribution systems, etc. What it's like to run the produce department. And then also they have, we have a plot, a community garden, and we have a photo for that. But that, now with this nice weather, they're starting to get ready for planting in the spring in the community garden. Next, also, you guys know about our community school. We're in the implementation, in the planning portion right now. We've applied for the implementation. So she's been very busy working on that, and also working on that wellness coach grant. But then another thing that we do is the CEI Community Engagement Initiative. So we had a trip down to Santa Clara in January, right? Or February, anyway,
Yeah.
recently. So you can see a picture, there's some Humboldt staff, some Siskiyou staff, a student, parent, you know, just at this, learning all about how to improve community engagement. It's really cool. I like the way it's structured, you know, that they're, in the end, we're gonna have to do a presentation
Next month. we do a
next month
presentation.
about everything that we've learned and what our problem of practice is and what we're going to do to fix that, you know, so it's putting pressure on,
Who are you
which is
presenting?
unusual for professional.
In Ontario, California?
Oh.
Yeah, we're flying down to Ontario.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's really cool that, like, even the parents and students who are involved are being paid, you know, to be involved, so it's really cool for them, and, you know, first time for Nicholas there, he's the one holding the sign up. I'm sure that's his first time ever being on an airplane. And so they've,
Well, the time before this one was.
yeah, so
This program.
we went to San Francisco in December. I know, it's all a blur. And then Santa Clara recently, and then we're gonna go down to Ontario. So anyway, I wanted to share that picture of us at that.
I love that that's Humboldt and Siskiyou staff together.
Yeah.
On a personal note, the young lady on the end here, holding the
Which
sign, Melissa Keeley,
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
she's my camping daughter. She's my daughter's best friend. And I call
I
her
love
my
Melissa.
camping daughter.
She's on the Humboldt team.
She's
her
on
and
the
Sam.
Humboldt team.
Yeah.
She is a paraprofessional in special ed resource. And
Yeah,
her
so-
son is there someplace.
Yeah, he's behind Althea and me.
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
kind of
that's
between me and
Sam.
Althea.
This is Kate.
That's the sustainable ag
She's the
teacher.
sustainable ag and the community school
For
coordinator.
Siskiyou.
Colleen Allen, one of our teachers, and that kind of the leader of this learning center.
And Donnie Allen's wife, you met
And
Donnie.
Donnie Allen, yeah, and Bev Cross, that's Colleen's mom. She was a school librarian for
Yeah.
many years.
So she's on our committee.
Yeah, and then this is our student Nicholas Ramirez, and he's 10th grader, I believe, this year, and his mom, Jessica. I'm not sure who's hiding behind there. That's Jared Lincoln, our new teacher in Mount Shasta, who we just hired this year. There's me and Althea, Sherry, and then that's Sarah Thompson there.
Willow Creek teacher.
No, and Sam
From Willow Creek.
Keeley was one of our student presenters a couple of months back.
Right.
Well, so was Nick.
Yeah,
He
Nick.
was the one that talked about the manufacturing.
Right.
Yes,
pathway.
I remember
yes.
that.
How cool.
Now, is
Yeah.
this a program that's gonna happen, continue past this school year?
Next year also.
It'll also happen next year?
Will this be the
And then we
same
have
team?
options.
Yeah, that was my next
If they
question.
want to be, if they want to be, you know, Kirk mentioned the thing about, this was actually a grant that I wrote, and so the grant money that we got for, you know, I wrote one for Humboldt and one for Siskiyou, and the grant money we got for each school, we as a committee or whoever, we got to decide how we spent that money. And this year, we opted, as Kirk said, to pay the people participating. Next year, I don't think that's how we're gonna spend the money. And so we'll see who participates, you know, who does and who doesn't, but, you know, the whole purpose of the grant money is to help you increase your engagement, your community engagement. And there's many ways you could do that, right? Like, so at the last one, I talked to a lot of different schools about how they decided to spend their grant money, and some of them bought, this money is so unrestricted, it's unreal. This never happens with schools because it's not public funds. So it's, you know, you get to do whatever. So anyway, some schools bought like bikes, a bunch of bikes, and every parent meeting, they raffle off one to a kid. And that gets people to come. Some schools bought like popcorn machines, cotton candy machines, and they pull those out at every parent meeting. All these different ways, which honestly, we didn't think about these. We made a decision before we started going to these meetings. And in hindsight, we should have waited. A lot of schools didn't make the decision ahead of time because they wanted to see what, you know. So now that we've been going, like we all agree, like Kate, who is the head of it in Siskiyou, and Althea and Humboldt, we have all decided this was not the best use of the funds. it's really not, it's only increasing the engagement of the people on the team.
Yeah, who we're supposed to. be.
Right, right, so we're
But
gonna
it was a
talk
good
about.
incentive to get people involved.
Which we
Exactly.
might not have had.
Exactly, but what Kate has said is she thinks that incentive didn't necessarily bring the right people who actually are passionate about this to the team, to the committee.
So that being said, as moving into next year, and you were mentioning that some may not participate, what if somebody that did not participate this year would like to participate
Absolutely,
next
they
year?
can.
It's gonna open again.
It's gonna
So-
open up.
Okay, so it'll be a whole new
will.
application process
It
or?
will, we'll open it back up.
So
because
when does
it's-
that
Next-
start?
Next year, we've decided we're gonna have an engagement retreat in Hawaii. It's
Oh.
unrestricted, right?
But yeah, so it will open up, people can join we're gonna be allowed to change the team next year. And I think what will happen, it's not gonna just be open up broadly, it's if people back out, we'll be able to fill
Fill
those
those
positions.
And if they are
Because
not-
there was a commitment.
Yeah, okay. If they are not paid next year, is it an option for board members to volunteer to be a part of that
I don't
process?
know I don't remember if board was one of the
I think
categories.
you guys did say that
Did
we
we
were
say?
able to.
I mean, I know
I
for
remember
sure
getting the
community
email
schools,
that
for
said-
sure. I don't remember if
Oh.
CEI did. I know community schools, but I don't remember. I mean, I don't know why not,
Yeah.
but I don't remember.
Other than
them
if
doing- yeah.
enough of you are together in one room, does, like
It makes
in Santa
sense.
Clara.
Yeah,
Right.
we
Yeah.
have three,
For a
but
satellite.
one, yeah.
And we
Yeah.
we obviously couldn't receive the payment for the money that you were paying each one of them, because then we would be, would that, I guess my question is, would that cause a conflict of interest, because it's not gonna matter next year because
Yeah,
we're not
right.
gonna be paid.
And they pay for like all of the travel, the hotels, the airfares, and that is not part of the grant that we get. It's completely outside of it. So it was really like, it's a nice grant to get.
Rarely is.
I know.
And when does that
I
start?
people are buying like gift certificates for families, gift cards, like, it's really, really nice to have all these different
Do they
options to
do
do.
any auditing of that? And
No.
checking? Holy smokes.
No.
It'll be audited in our regular audit.
Yeah.
It'll be included in our financials.
Right.
But I mean, as far as.
The restriction, because it can be used for anything.
Accountability.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's true.
That is super,
Super rare, huh?
Yeah.
I know.
So when does that open back up? Just beginning of year?
Well,
time of
next year, when we start having the meetings, I'm sure, Kate will, and maybe even at the end of this year, I'm not sure, but we'll figure out who does it, like when people know they're not gonna get paid for it, if they drop out, if they decide, or if they just decide it's been too much of a burden.
Yeah.
Because it's 3 out-of-town meetings, but also 6 virtual meetings as well. Like we had one last night, yesterday, from 3 to 6 yesterday, yeah. So it's, it's a pretty big commitment for sure. So some people might just choose not to do it anymore, but.
So are you telling me, I'm a little slow on the uptake, so we've got 9 meetings and a possible trip to Hawaii. Is this what I'm hearing? Or will there be fewer meetings or more meetings?
No, it's the same number of meetings and there's no
Okay.
Hawaii, that's a joke.
But
Just for the record.
but then also,
Okay.
the requirements for what we need to do next year might be different. I mean, at some point, because all the in-person meetings we've gone to, there was other schools who were a cohort or two
Before
ahead
us.
of us presenting to
Yeah.
the group
Oh,
and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So some people
Yeah.
would be like, oh, what is that?
Yeah, now that they know.
Yeah.
So that was Wide Week and a little bit of whole school news. This is, I decided not to download these photos from Mount Shasta, but I just wanted to let you see what the newsletter that Greta puts out every week looks like. She didn't get to one last week. This is from the end of February, but she's got important dates and a nice quote of the week and some photos and a little description of what's been going on. They had a really good PE hike behind the center. I don't know if you guys stopped there on your way up. Oh, we'll be there tomorrow, so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. But there's some trails across the street from the learning center that go off up the mountain. So, we take advantage of that sometimes. They had parent-teacher conferences. They're going to have parent-teacher conferences April 3rd and 4th. there's a photo of the room and kids
Collage making.
making a collage and fire drill practice, going to our gathering spot, and that was also kind of on the way to go hiking. These two don't really have any, but so just, you know, I think this is like a circle time meeting there, and recess outdoors, playing around with these little carts that we have. And then Lily, our teacher's aide, is very artistic, and so she's been doing unique valentines for each of the students. So this is, in
Are you
essence,
guys on
what our
Parents
Mount
Square?
Shasta newsletter looks like.
Do you guys
every
get
year.
Parents Square?
I don't know if board members or.
I mean, I would think everybody with our emails do that, right? Because it's through our, you know, our school information system.
Yeah, but it's school
Yeah,
specific. When the bridge pulls people over from school pathways.
We should put them in both school
Yeah.
pathways, and then they would get the,
Yeah.
For instance, I used to not get these newsletters, but then I requested as a parent and now I get them. So
Uh-huh.
I don't think that these are for,
you, so as a
haven't.
board member, you didn't get them, just
Yes.
as a parent, you did.
I see
Well,
announcements
yeah, once you
like
became
this,
attached to Mount Shasta Learning Center, then
You
you
what?
automatically
I said
got
I
put in
see
this group.
that's when I,
You don't get the parent square?
I get Parent Square where I get announcements, but I don't remember seeing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that
the
comes,
newsletters go.
yeah.
This one doesn't go, this one only, this is a
Or at least I
group
get
for just Mount Shasta.
Uh-huh.
So that's why
Oh,
you get it, because
okay.
your kids are attached
We
to
just
Mount
recently-
Shasta.
Yes, that's why now you're.
Right, so we'd have to put everybody, put them
In the Mount Shasta
Mount
group
Shasta
to get that,
group.
that's right, because she's not sending that out school-wide, she's only
Right,
sending,
just
okay, that
Mount
makes
Shasta
sense,
parents.
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
But we could make that
They
happen,
could,
probably.
yeah,
But, so what I usually do for my report is I just go to this newsletter, copy the body and get a bunch of photos and then put it in there. So you're
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
seeing the
that's
same
good,
thing.
yeah.
yeah, okay, that's good.
So, that's it for my report. Let's move to some questions.
Questions? Comments?
Well, actually, I did have one question, in related to the sustainable agriculture class and the garden plot that's, being done. Have we sourced any donations from local companies or businesses to get the starts for the plants or what we'll be planting?
I'm not sure where Kate gets it, she
Yeah,
might get them from
I'm
her
not
own
sure. Kate runs
greenhouse,
her own
yeah, she has her
farm.
own farm.
Okay,
Kate-
cool.
Kate
I was
has
just
her
gonna
own
say, I
farm,
happen to
so-
know the person that's gonna be running the garden center over at Ace.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, so.
So I'd be happy to make that
Okay.
happen.
Yeah, it's okay.
Some stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she has her own homeward bound farms out in Gazelle, so I'm sure she has a pipeline, but it'd be great to get some donations.
I'll talk to them tomorrow when I go to work. It's me.
you're the,
That's the name of the new
oh,
job. So we'll
okay,
be
why did
opening
I
in-
think it was Rayleigh's?
Hmm?
For some reason I had in my head it was Rayleigh's.
Oh, I used to,
Okay,
before
maybe
I
that's
left
what it
for
was.
Florida, I
Yeah,
worked at
maybe
Rayleigh's.
yes. Okay, so
Yeah.
now it's Ace.
But yeah,
So
I'm
you're
gonna-
the person you know.
Yes.
Got it. I was slow on the uptake there. Okay, 7.6 is the board report. Jerry, anything? You did have something.
Yeah, not necessarily, reporting on things per se, but just asking some questions and such. So, going back to Rebecca's Humboldt report, I think this has come up before, and believe me, I'm thrilled to see representation of different things that our students get involved in. But all in all, I feel really out of the loop. I'm not getting any notifications, any newsletters, any announcements, rarely, with a rare exception, of anything that's going on. What really caught my attention was the picture at Arts Alive. Although Carol and I used to go to Arts Alive all the time. Pandemic kind of changed that, and some other factors, but had I known that they were going to be there at Arts Alive, I would have made it a mission to go and be there and support them.
You're
So-
in good company. I didn't know they were doing that either.
And so it's things like that. I don't know, because I have no children, no grandchildren, no connection to the schools in that way. I don't know what goes
Yeah,
on. I
Just
hear.
that you get the monthly report, the monthly school
Yeah,
reports.
I hear about things that have gone on because Rosemary is talking about them. And
And
so,
I get the newsletter from Amanda,
Mhm.
and I
'Cause
used to
your
get it
grandma.
from Jenna before her,
Mhm.
but I am going to talk with her and request that all the board receive what she sends out, like the order form for the new floral
Mhm.
arrangements that they have going and things like that.
Is this by email? Or is this by one of the services like Parent Square?
No, what we get from the Eureka Learning Center is not a Parent Square thing. It's just an email that she sends out, usually on a Sunday of the week ahead of
And that's
what's
just like the
happening.
Eureka Learning Center group,
Yes.
email group.
Mhm. But,
Because I don't get those either. I've never seen one of Jenna's or
and
Amanda's.
I think that
'Cause I'm not part
it
of
would
that
be
group.
good if we all could see,
Yeah,
even
I think
though
they should use it.
you folks, you're not gonna know or travel for a bake sale, but it's good to know.
Yeah. They find out about it after the fact
After
in
the fact,
the monthly
right,
report, which is
right.
really all you need to know since you're not there, you know.
But I
so
am gonna reach out to Amanda when we get home and request that.
so that's one thing that just.
What was done at Arts Alive? Well, it was the bake sale,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
'Cause
and
I
that,
you can see the picture.
yeah,
there,
I didn't even know anything about it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's one thing. And actually, I'm surprised at myself for not thinking of this sooner, but whatever happened to the super student or student of the month?
It's not that don't be surprised that, you didn't think about this sooner, because probably you just let it out of your mind, because you might remember we told you the newspaper stopped doing it.
Well.
Remember, like Time Standard
right,
just
right.
no longer was gonna do it
So,
anymore.
so that may be true. So my suggestion then is that we would do it on our own.
I think the individual
to
learning
take a
centers
picture,
do.
to take a picture,
Mhm.
write a blurb about this student, send it to Heather Shelton at the Time Standard, and then it will get posted. And so, it's unfortunate that, because it was something that everybody looked forward to. It was a whole big page from all the local schools that they had selected a super student and put down information about their background and their GPA and what they're currently enrolled in and what their aspirations are. So,
When and why did they stop doing it? Because it really was
I mean,
fantastic.
Well,
newspapers are dying.
That's
yeah,
true.
it's-
I mean, that's like, I think it's like, I don't even know if they do it paper anymore. Time
Well,
Standard?
they
It might just be
do
online
do
now.
a hard copy, but there's the digital. So,
Yeah, it's just
so,
kind of a dinosaur kind of thing, you know?
I mean, it's worth the try, and if you can get it established and then, do it again and again and again, it's the way for us to promote ourselves. Now, we've gone through this discussion, and Bianca was involved in the discussion because there was nothing similar in Siskiyou, but I can't remember if she found something or someone, a publication.
Something, it wasn't the local newspaper, I don't think, it was something else.
It's something that almost everyone in Siskiyou checks at least once in a while, is the Siskiyou County Grapevine. It's a Facebook group, and it's a way that people have do a lot of different communications about all different kinds of events and
Yeah,
things
yeah,
that are
yeah.
going
So-
on and
so
I
that-
love
stuff like
Facebook
that.
page. Did we ever talk about that, having that for the school?
Don't
We do
have
have a
Facebook
Facebook
Yeah.
page, yeah.
That would be
I
an
don't
easy
have
way
an
to
account
utilize
because
it.
Yeah, I know, I don't either.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's that, and
Then it would
then,
be free.
the other thing I wanted to inquire about are, individuals interested in, individuals interested in our vacancy.
Yeah, I have that on, that's on the agenda for tomorrow.
Oh, for tomorrow,
that's
okay.
I'm trying to remember, I know we had divided the numbers between Humboldt and Siskiyou.
3 and 2.
If we were to be able to find another one in Siskiyou, would we need to have 4 in Humboldt?
Yeah, our bylaws call
Yeah,
for just
so I was
5.
trying to, okay, yeah, I was trying to remember how that worked.
Yeah, we'd take an amendment to the bylaws to, because it has to be. in
And that would
line.
probably be a material revision to our charter document, because
Right.
in our charter
Yeah.
document.
I was just
It's
trying
all
to,
tied
I
together.
thought we had to have minimum 5 and up to 7, or am I remembering that?
That's
incorrectly?
what is allowed by law.
Well, okay.
Mhm.
And, but we always need to have one more on the Humboldt side than we do on the Siskiyou side.
That's how we have it in our.
Right,
Yeah,
it's
that's
based
right,
on,
Enrollment.
size and
Yeah, I was just
enrollment.
trying to.
We
get that.
did make an amendment, in your absence that, because we were having, a exceedingly difficult time to fill a vacancy. That came, maybe it was just before you left, because if you recall, for the longest time, there were only 4 of us. And,
Oh, yeah. I knew that.
to try to fill the vacancy. And then we made an amendment and came up with a provision that in the event of, I can't remember if we specified a length of time or not, but that we could, like, for an extended period of time in Siskiyou, if we couldn't fill that, if there was somebody that came forward in Humboldt,
Mhm.
we would do that. And we did do that. And then when we finally were able to have a Siskiyou person, one of the Humboldt people left, and then we got that person to switch into this person's seat.
Yeah.
Is
The
funny.
Siskiyou one became the Humboldt one,
Yeah.
because the Siskiyou one was really a Humboldt person.
Yeah, so it just speaks to the difficulty of filling our vacancies. And I've raised before that we can just have a discussion. I'm not saying we're gonna, with the end result of doing something specifically, but what can we do to try to encourage people to sit on the board when we have a vacancy? You know, we're not paid, only get reimbursed for mileage. You know, there are no perks. What could we do? Is there anything we can do?
And is part of it.
This time
for
it wasn't
people
hard
to
at all, we
stop?
got multiple applications already. This time it wasn't an issue.
Well, that's
So
true,
it's
but
just
that's rare.
weird. Yeah,
That's
it's
rare.
weird that this time around. I actually think that it's, I'm not even kidding when I say this, I actually think that it's a result of our increased engagement work that we've been doing. Because at
Oh, you
least
mean having the multiple?
applicants this time.
applicants?
Yes, because this time, like, just over the course of the last year or so, not only I feel like has our use of Parent Square increased a lot. Like, you know, every year we've had it, we've been using it more. But the other thing that I started doing over the course of the last year is using our parent email group all the time. I don't know if you know that, but so when I email things now to parents, like, you probably get things that I
Sometimes,
email
yeah.
out. And I didn't ever used to do that, but Tim created a parent email group. And so I started using that. And I have had so much luck with our parent advisory council that way. And I did that for the board meeting too. And I got, like, people emailing me back, asking me for the application and stuff. So I actually do think it's, you know, because of our engagement work that we've been doing, it's been making a difference.
So you already have applicants
I do. I do, multiple.
Wow.
I know. So, and that's what we were gonna talk about tomorrow,
Yeah.
is the process for that.
Right.
Yep.
Which is great.
Good.
We built the blocks, now we get to put them in.
Yeah. Brianna, do you have any comments? Anything to add? Okay. Melissa?
Just thank you guys for being here, making the long journey.
And I was going to say, thank you as well. This has been long, long overdue for a multitude of reasons. And I'm just really glad because it's fun to be in the same room face to face, and we're just a good group of folks, all of us. Okay, moving on to 8.1, possible agenda items. And that would be agenda items for our April 17th meeting.
Got any biggies?
Not really. Probably, the taxes will be on there, and that's not, again, that's not an action item, that's just, I'm trying to think what else, the closed session.
Closed session.
Nothing else really big in April. Normally, it would have been our report about, on how we've been doing on our plan for the year, our metrics, but remember, we did that last month, and so then we decided, why do it again,
Right.
in April, since you're gonna see it again in June. But yeah, I can't think of anything
Director's
big.
assessment, that's a normal April thing, or?
I guess, the self-assessment, you feel like that was the normal April? I thought that was May, but maybe it is April. I'd have to look at my contract to know for sure. The only
Well, I
reason I
think it
have in my
starts in
head,
April.
because normally I do the
June.
report in April, and so then, remember, I do my self-evaluation against the report. And so that's why the report is April. That's why I thought my self-evaluation
It
was
could be.
May, but I could be wrong.
I can go back and check.
But I'll check. If it's supposed to be April, it will be April.
But another possible one, and I think this may come up tomorrow, is, we've,
Appointing a new board member,
well,
that too, the interviewing of the
Yeah.
board member.
right, not only that, but we'll possibly talk about it tomorrow, but the board evaluation
Oh, that's on the agenda.
That's for
Um,
tomorrow.
Yeah.
to,
Oh, get it going in April.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Starting.
Yeah.
actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
And how are we going to report it out, or you know, all those things. So that might be, I don't know, I'm just, just a group.
And one thing that I don't want to have forgotten is the cafeteria, the meals.
Right.
Prior to
Right.
signing a new
You should look at
contract.
the ones while you're here. See what these ones are like. They're in the fridge. You know, just so you can see.
How are they different?
Well, it's a totally different vendor over here than in Humboldt. Yeah. This one, remember this one is that fire monkey? Is that what they're called?
Oh,
It's a
yeah,
fire
I
monkey?
know, it's such a silly name.
Yeah, and they're good. I think you would like these ones. I wish we could get these guys to do over. in
I
Humboldt.
brought, I was visiting the high school, the Eureka Learning Center, and the big issue is the food. And my emotions got the best of me because I took one of those lunches and I called Sherry and I said, "Are you in? I'm on my way." And I brought it to her and I put it down in front of her and she says, "What is that?"
In her defense, in the person, or I say her, whoever makes the food's defense, it was a pulled pork sandwich, and so the pulled pork was in a container, and then the bun, you know, was separate. It's hard to make shredded brown meat look good in any way.
Oh,
That's why you
your
stick it in a
face
bun.
does not do.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
how do you, like, I mean, maybe I'm biased because I'm
least
a
it's
lifelong
real vegan.
vegetarian, but like, to me, like, looking at that,
No.
you know, there's no way to make that look good.
And I've had, when I've made visits and whatnot, not only students talk to me, but parents that have been out there and whatnot. I even went into poor Rebecca. She was the first one that I took it into, and I said, would you feed this to one of your boys?
And she's like, my boys eat it every day.
Yeah, oh, you remember that?
And Kelly's kids too, they have her kids have the same vendor.
Well, I just feel that our students deserve better. Okay. If that is it for our possible agenda items, 8.2 would be our next board meeting, which is tomorrow. Special board meeting coming up on the 13th of this month. And then April the 17th will be a regular meeting. And
The website, yeah, but maybe wait till we know the time.
till we know the
Yeah.
time, right. And at this time, I would like to thank everyone for coming and adjourn the meeting at 5:51.